Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV back action with a video. Like the content of this video, go and smash that like button at the content of this channel. Go and subscribe, man. Look, so yeah, sorry, missed the last couple of days. I've been on vacation, still am on vacation, but gonna get this video in, talk about the last couple of days of practice. Definitely talk about the joint practice. I'm gonna put timestamps in the in the comment section. So if y'all want to skip ahead to today's news, go ahead, do your thing, whatever. All right. Now, first about the stadium practice, right? Just some of the thoughts that I had from watching it, and then just from what the reporter said, right? So Keaton Mitchell, he looks very very fast again. His role in the offense to me is only going to expand. Now, listen, Justice Hill is still a very very good running back. Justice Hill is still going to have a very sizable part for his role in this offense, right? But the Ravens are going to try to get Keaton Mitchell on the field, 10, 12 plays a game. You know what I mean? I think they're really going to try to. We'll see what happens with that. But, he's looking like the guy that he was his rookie season where any touch can be going to the crib, 60, 70 yards down the field, right? He turned the corner one time and he was out of there. Lamar Jackson still looking very fast. His teammates are saying he's very fast. The coaches are saying he's very fast and he looks very fast. The part that I saw at the stadium practice, he rolled out to the right in the red zone, easy touchdown, ran past everybody, right? Obviously, they're not trying to tackle Lamar Jackson, but still, right? Good burst, good speed. He's still Lamar Jackson. Kyle Hamilton, very, very impressive in coverage. Yeah, nice pass. I had a nice pass breakup on Lamar Jackson. I love seeing that, right? If there's one thing that people have criticized Kyle Hamilton for in the past is his coverage skills, right? Which I think is, kind of crazy. But, no player is perfect, so they try to find something to nitpick on anybody and everybody. But Kyle Hamilton, it looks even better in coverage now. And then lastly, Jair Alexander, right? The Ravens mic'd him up. Seeing his energy out there, he's getting along with everybody. Rookies, vets. They showed him meeting Brent Urban, who just recently returned. And, so Jair Alexander, not only is he a great player, he's just like a great energy guy, great locker room guy. So, he keeps that up. You're really getting the best of both worlds from Jair, right? You're not just getting a guy that's baller, but you're getting a guy that's fitting in with the team concept, right? And that's very, very important to the Ravens, right? They want to have a team that's stronger together. When the Ravens have been at their best, that's what they've had, right? All right, so that's my stadium practice thoughts. Okay, so yesterday's practice, right? Lamar absent. I think Kyle Hamilton was absent. Rashad Bateman might have been absent too. They said it was a short, light practice. Lamar's absence, people are speculating, could this be a contract extension? Now, I don't know why he would have to be absent to sign a contract extension, but that's what some of the speculation out there. But the reports are all, there are all reports coming out that the Ravens are expected to make Lamar Jackson the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That they're also working on extensions for Kyle Hamilton, Isaiah Likely, and Tyler Linderbaum, right? All things that are expected when you have great players, you keep great players, and you sign your great players, right? So nothing is surprising there by any of those moves if they were to come down in the next, say, week or so, right? The Lamar Jackson thing, as soon as Josh Allen got paid, a contract pretty much said itself. It's just like every single time Lamar just has tested the market, right? Not even tested the market, but has been up for a contract. Hey, whatever the last QB got, just up for Lamar Jackson. It's kind of just been as simple as that. When you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best players in the league, you don't need an agent. Your contract is as simple as, hey, $1 million more than that guy. It's that simple, right? So we'll see what happens with Lamar Jackson, but I would assume it'd be around that range. It's just a slight uptick on the last QB contract, right? But the highlight of that practice, they said, was Cooper Rush to Zay Flowers, 45-yard touchdown. Like I said, they said it was a short, light practice. Cooper Rush, he's had his up and downs. But yesterday, they say he took advantage of those first team opportunities, right? When you get to throwing to guys like Zay Flowers, it's better than throwing to some guys on the second team, even though the Ravens have a pretty deep, wide receiver room, right? You're still throwing to better players when you work with first team offense, right? So that's kind of the highlights from the last 2 days. And now if we get into today, joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts, we know what the highlight is of the day, or not even a highlight, I won't say the highlight, but the main talking point for today is, right? But, we'll talk about that when we get to the defensive side of the ball, right? But not practicing, Marcus Major, Kyle Hamilton, Robert Longerbeam, I always call him Roger, Robert Longerbeam, Lamar Jackson returned, Rashad Bateman returned, okay? Now for the offense, some highlights, right? Oh, sorry, no, let's go back to Kyle Hamilton. John Harbaugh said Kyle Hamilton is dealing with one of those camp things, right? Which is the same description he had for Zay Flowers. When he had that description for Zay Flowers was out, I think maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days at the maximum. So we'll see if that's the same for Kyle Hamilton when he be out 2-3 days, and then he'll come back and be ready to go. We'll see if that's the case for him as well. All right, now on to the offense, right? They said that Lamar Jackson rolled out and hit Bateman across the middle for about 15 yards on a nice play. They did say, though, that the Ravens were pretty inconsistent in the red zone, right? There were some good results. There were some bad results. The highlight of their red zone period was Lamar Jackson touchdown to Mark Andrews. Now, several things right there, okay? So this has been a constant theme of this training camp period so far, is that the Ravens have been inconsistent in the red zone. And if you know anything about the Ravens, especially the last couple of years, the red zone has been a place where they've really, really thrived, right? You know, whether that's punching in touchdowns with, Derrick Henry or, Lamar Jackson doing it himself, right? Now, I'm not too worried about it because when you're practicing, you're not really running Derrick Henry up the gut 3 times trying to get a touchdown, right? You're trying to do different plays, try different things out, see if they work, right? When you try to pass the ball in the red zone, it's tired down there. It's tougher to pass the football, right? So I think when we get to the regular season, we will see the Ravens run the ball in the red zone. Lamar Jackson will have plenty of pass to touchdowns opportunities and things like that. But I think the offense will be better in the red zone because you'll be able to do more things because you're actually trying to score in your best possible way and not just, if we're trying this out, we're trying that out. You're trying to score in your best possible way. All right. So besides that, they said that for the offense, the offense was at its best today when they were targeting the tight ends, right? No surprise there. Not just Mark Andrews, but I also mentioned Charlie Kolar, right? And Charlie Kolar is a guy who has an immense opportunity in front of him, right? Isaiah Likely is going to miss. Well, I don't say he's going to miss. He might be back for week 1. If it was up to me, I would hold Isaiah Likely out to week 3. That's my opinion, but it is what it is, right? If Isaiah Likely was to miss time, Charlie Kolar, that means he's going to get a bump in snaps, right? Now, the Ravens are going to work out a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, right? Because you got DeAndre Hopkins, right? Of course. But that doesn't mean they're going to abandon their 2 tight end philosophy, right? So, Charlie Kolar is going to be out there with Mark Andrews at times. I truly believe that, okay? And in this practice today, they said that, Charlie Kolar and Mark Andrews, that's when the Ravens look their best. And we know that Lamar Jackson loves throwing the ball over the middle of the field to the tight ends. It's always been a staple of what Lamar Jackson, some of the things that he does best, right? That hasn't really changed. Even as his game has expanded and grew, even as his game has expanded and grew, him hitting the tight ends hasn't changed, right? He's still very comfortable in doing that. One negative for Lamar Jackson, they say he was picked off throwing across the field. I didn't see who he was targeting on that, but he was picked off doing that. And Cooper Rush got in and he was picked off in a 2-minute drill. I didn't see anything else with Cooper Rush besides that. He could have had a fine day, but that's the one really thing I saw from the reporters on Cooper Rush, right? So Lamar Jackson trying to make a hero play, throwing the ball across the middle of the field. We've seen a couple times in the regular season, right? The play that comes to mind for me is, the big jump ball to Isaiah Likely versus Jacksonville, right? Lamar Jackson rolling one way, throwing it all the way across the field. Isaiah Likely makes a great play. He's done it before in the past. To me, I don't think it's going to be a staple of what happens this season. It's just practice, right? So we'll see what happens from there. Now, defense, right? So we'll talk about Nate Wiggins last, right? Because Nate Wiggins was ejected from practice today for throwing punches, right? So we'll talk about that last. They said Mike Green had a sack. William Quinku, probably pronounced his name wrong. He had a sack to end the Colts drive. I believe him and Mike Green both combined on the same possession for a sack, right? Then there was another thing that said Broderick Washington also got a pressure. So the Ravens defensive line had a good day of practice today. They really did, right, versus the Colts, okay? They also said that the Ravens defense, for the most part, locked down Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones in practice today. The Colts did have possession where they got a little bit further, but ended up missing the field goal anyway. But they said for the most part, they said the Colts wasn't passing the 50-yard line, right? That's from what I saw, right? So, this defense is looking really good right now. The quarterback that they were going against, Daniel Jones, he's on his I guess third team now, and it's kind of been hasn't been a great success in the NFL, honestly. And Anthony Richardson is still trying to figure out his way, right? So we're not saying we're going against top-notch quarterbacks, but you're going to only beat who's in front of you, right? And the Ravens defense once again showed up, right? So if you're getting sacks, the back end is also doing well. They're doing their job well, but the Ravens pass rushers are getting after, right? And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to hear. Okay. Now, Nate Wiggins. Okay, so Nate Wiggins, this is the big story of joint practice, right? Every time there's a joint practice, there's going to be a fight, right? When the Ravens had the joint practice with the Commanders, who was it? Was it Devin Duvernay? I think Devin Duvernay fought somebody for Tylen Wallace. This was a couple years ago because I've done doing. They had been a Ravens for a couple years, but when it's a joint practice, fight happens. It's not like some groundbreaking thing, right? I'm not gonna get all up in arms about it. But Nate Wiggins, there was a late push in the back from a Colts player to a Ravens DB, right? Nate Wiggins reacted to it, came off the sideline apparently, and started delivering uppercuts to this Colts player, right? I think it was Goodson that he was punching on, right? And he was ejected from practice, right? I'm not sure if he was ejected from practice for the fighting or for the leaving for the sidelines or for both, because both things can get you ejected, right? We know that if a fight is going on the field and the player comes from the sideline to the field, they're out of there, right? So he could have been ejected just for that or for the fighting as well, right? But either way, to me, I'm fine with it, right? These guys have been going through training camp for the last couple of weeks. They've been going against the same people, right? And if somebody else from the outside pushes your teammate, you react to it, you defend them, I'm cool with it, right? I really had no issue with it, right? So that's what happened with Nate Wiggins, right? I'm sure when the Ravens practice again, Nate Wiggins will be out there. I don't think he'll play much in the game regardless of the situation. I don't think he will play much in the game anyway. But Nate Wiggins, hey, he has that dog in him. He's very, very passionate about the game, right? We'll use all those kind of buzzwords because, it is kind of player he is, right? Even for a guy with a smaller, slight frame, he's willing to mix it up, right? So, once again, I'll say it again, I don't have an issue with it, right? But that was the main thing from practice today, Nate Wiggins, fighting a player on the Colts, right? So, the sidelines cleared, everything like that happened. All right, then lastly, man, kicking. It's not a competition anymore, so it's just Tyler Loop. But Tyler Loop went 6 for 6 today with a long of 55 yards. That's the kind of consistency we want to see from Tyler Loop, right? Have a good day, be able to make your 50-yard field goals, because the Ravens are putting full trust and faith in you to succeed and be the Ravens kicker, right? Because, if this team goes how we wanted to go, these high clutch moments in the regular season, these clutch moments in the playoffs, right? We're going to need this rookie kicker to be able to handle those moments and handle himself and make those field goals, right? So now we ain't in no pressure situations right now, but over the last couple of days, he has been pretty good, has been pretty consistent, right? So now he's keeping up that trend with a day like today with 6 for 6 with a long of 55 yards, right? So that's what I have to say for the Ravens for the last couple of days, right? We'll talk about the preseason game and we'll talk about some other things as well as they come across. But obviously give me your thoughts in the comments, man. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. But it's Gabriel, just on Fan TV. I'm out.